We are live and the webinar is on. So can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I'll start here. And sorry, I'm having like trouble with my internet today. So if I freeze again, so please keep the show going on, Julie. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the June edition of our webinar, Ask Julie Anything. I am Mariana Nadai, Marketing and Events Coordinator at Adored Beast, and I will be your host today, unless I get freeze again. So during today's session, Julie will be answering all your questions about nutrition, health, wellness, and everything to help our adored beasts. So don't be shy and ask Julie anything. Before we start, I want to ask you all, if it's possible, to switch your chat to everyone so that we can all join in on the conversation. And please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen to ask your questions, and we will do our best to get through all of them. I also want to welcome our special guest today, Stephanie. She's back for this session, so she will be around helping us a little bit. So I guess that's it. Without further ado, welcome, Julie and Lee.
Well, thank you. It feels like it's been sort of a one of those days, period. Like today has been a little bit. I don't know. There's just something in the air. I don't know. There's just some kind of crazy energy right now.
Literally, there's a lot of smoke in the air.
Oh, I know. It's brutal. I have a friend that lives in New York City, and he texted me and said, take a look. Like he lives at like 8th and 14th or something. I don't know. And he took a picture outside of his window and you couldn't even hardly see. It was like so smoky. It was just insane. Yeah, it's not fun. That's for sure. It's a terrible thing that's going on, but all right. So it was the focus. Smoke is finally, I don't know what she said. Up in Western, MA. Yeah, I saw a picture of it going over the Michigan Bridge, I think, between Michigan and New York, and you couldn't even see the end of the bridge. It's also in Tennessee. Yeah, it's horrible. It's really scary. That's what I was doing all day today, is looking at horse trailers, driving all over the province, taking a look at horse trailers to have a whole bunch of horse trailers in case we ever had to evacuate, because it's not going to happen. It wouldn't happen quickly. That's for darn sure. So, yeah. All right. So what are we doing here?
So I'm the official question reader this evening. Thank you for having me.
Question reader. That's
right.
That's a good title.
Yeah. Official. Okay. Eva is asking, Julie, I want to ask, calcium carbonate, eggshell powder, bone meal powder, calcium citrate, which one is better for a homemade raw diet?
I think it really depends. Let me just see where. I want to look at the three of them that she has. Where is it?
Very top.
The very top one? Oh,
sorry, second from the top. My mistake.
It's okay. All right. Calcium carbonate, eggshell powder. So when I look at that, like, you know me, if I can go the closest to real as possible and not fractionized, or, it's hard when you're looking at minerals like calcium carbonate and citrate to be sure that you're getting a really good source that doesn't have a high heavy metal content, all of that stuff. So for me, bone meal and eggshell powder would be my two top choices in that. And eggshell powder is even more awesome if you can make it yourself, because then you can make sure that you're using organic eggs, and you just dry them and grind them in a coffee grinder. Or if you can get bone meal powder that's from grass-fed cows, that's awesome as well.
Thank you, Julie. For one of our little support ladies, would you mind grabbing the blog on eggshell membrane that Billy Hoekman wrote for us? That could be helpful for that question as well. We'll put it in the chat there for you. Jim, hey, how's it going? You and your wife. I think it's Jim and Carol. Our 14-year-old Tibetan Terrier was born by cesarean. Could this have an effect on his gut microbiome, causing leaky gut? He developed a mast cell tumor 4 years ago on his neck after a rabies shot. He's on an organic homemade diet for many years. Thank you, Jim and Carol Duff.
And then it says underneath, what might you recommend for supplements?
Thank you.
So definitely it can affect the microbiome, 100%. It's like when it affects it's an important thing. It's a little different with dogs because they're usually in sacks before they come out, rather compared to definitely does affect them. I would just, make sure that you're rotating through different kinds of probiotics. I mean, from a perspective of our probiotics, I would go with the species one, because if by chance it does have an effect, it has been caused by a low microbiome from the C-section, then what you want to do is make sure that would be very species oriented, right? Like that would be very dog or canine or wolf oriented. So for that dog, I would probably recommend the wolf or Phytosflora, or a combination of both, where you're alternating them. And as far as what I did want to say though is the mast cell tumor death vaccine, I would be doing it on your pup as well. And then, just supplements in general. Phytosflora is incredible to use because it's not even a supplement. It's a whole food nutrition, and it's amazing for the gut. And, with leaky gut in general, I would say rotate through, right? So Gut Soothe is really good for the leaky junctions. Phytosflora is really good because of the fulvic and humic acid with the leaky junctions. Soil and Sea also has fulvic and humic acid in it. So I would, and Wolf is just a really great pre and probiotic. So I would be going through them. And one more thing for mast cell tumors, you want to make sure that their liver is clean, because there's a lot of histamine with that tumor, and histamine is regulated by the liver. So liver tonic or milk thistle, things that support the liver.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, here's another question. Your take on sweet potato versus acorn squash. This is for a dog. Which one would you consider better? I heard that sweet potatoes are likely to cause inulin spike, and sugar's not good for dogs with yeast infections.
Yeah, squash has got less carbohydrate than sweet potatoes for sure. So it does have less glucose or less sugar index. So between the two, squashes. But if you're also looking at that group of foods being good fiber for your dog, for your food, all the squashes are really good. So acorn squash is good, spaghetti squash is good. I'm a big believer in diversity, so go and use all kinds of squashes and then rotate through them.
Perfecto. Okay. And then let's see what Christina is saying. A probiotic question. I've been hearing people claiming, based on new studies, I'm curious where you're hearing this, Christina, if you happen to mention in the chat, just out of curiosity, it's more beneficial to give probiotics in a liquid 30 minutes to an hour before eating, because it reaches the GI faster and doesn't get eaten up by stomach acids. I'd really love to hear your thoughts and perspective on this, Julie.
That's a good question. I'd love to hear that study, because our new probiotic is liquid, and it's really the only liquid probiotic out there right now for dogs. That's our Wolf one. And So what you have to remember with that is our species oriented ones. I mean, that could be very, very, very true in lots of different, with lots of different probiotics. But our wolf strain, our cat strain, our Phytophthora, our canine strain, our equine strain, they've had those studies. So that might hold true for probiotics and bacteria strains and species that are sort of geared more for people and cows and acidity levels that aren't as high as a dog and a cat. But the cool thing is one of our very, very, very first checkoff boxes for our species oriented is that they actually go through 2 different types of studies to be sure that it can survive the specific gastric acids in a dog and a cat and a horse, and then land where it needs to land in the gut to proliferate and not die. So that question is a really good question, and it's one of the main questions that we that we look at with every single probiotic study that we do with our species oriented ones. So I hope that answers your question.
Totally helpful, Julie.
Yeah.
And the liquid pre and probiotic is called the Wolf. And
Yeah.
Mary linked it in the chat for everyone if you want to check it out. It also won a surprise when we were at where were we? Global Pet Expo in March.
Florida.
Yeah.
In Florida.
Yeah, that was fun too.
Yeah, it won 3rd place out of what I think 3,500 entries or some crazy thing. Yeah.
It was pretty cool. I have the badge here that they gave us. I'll bring it next time I come to the office. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay, here's our next question. Julie, any helpful tips on reducing E. coli? I tested his gut microbiome through Animal Biome. The E. coli level is very high. There's no diarrhea though. Then why is the E. coli so high? The dog is already on Wolf and Gut Soothe. Good start.
Yeah. So I would, again, how long has it been on Wolf? I wonder. So the two that you want to probably rotate through. I mean, if your dog is on Gut Soothe because there's an issue maybe with a little bit of chronic diarrhea or something like that. It says no diarrhea though. I don't know if that's because he's on Gut Soothe or not, but the 2 that you should be moving through is Wolf and Phytophthora. Both of those have been specifically tested for E. coli, Salmonella, and Clostridium, and they both have phenomenal abilities to regulate E. coli. So what you want to remember, what's her name? What was her name? Or is it anonymous?
Anonymous.
Okay. So what you want to remember is that you don't want to eradicate E. coli. So if there's E. coli in the gut, is it like out of control E. coli? Meaning, is there too much E. coli compared to the other bacteria in the gut? Or did you see that, oh, it just has E. coli in its gut? Because you don't want to get rid of E. coli. You don't want to get rid of Salmonella or Clostridium. I am a very big believer that when there's more pathogenic, those are called pathogenic bacteria. When there are more pathogenic bacteria, everyone's going to have to try to really hard get their heads around this. So when you educate something, whether you're educating your brain, whether you're educating your gut, whether you're educating your muscles, it doesn't matter. Education requires constant stimulation. It's why they say, don't stop reading, don't stop using your brain as you get older, because you want to keep that muscle working, right? You want to continue keeping yourself educated. And the gut is very similar. So in my opinion, when we look at eradicating pathogenic bacteria completely in our gut, what we're doing is we're actually making our gut bacteria lazy. So we don't want to eradicate it. We want to keep it there so that the rest of the bacteria, all the other strains, stay on their toes of going, okay, Do we have them contained? Are they in small enough groups? Cool. Let's go back to business doing all this other stuff like creating postbiotics and short chain fatty acids and stimulating the hormones and what producing all of the amazing things that the bacteria does in the gut. And then they're like, oh, okay, Clostridium's getting a little out of control. Let's get over there. So it keeps in my opinion, it keeps the gut really on its toes and keeps it really educated, continuing to educate itself and keep its muscles moving, right, of paying attention. So if there's a concern that there's too much E. coli, then I would definitely continue keeping them on. I'd add Phytosphlora, and I would alternate one day Phytosphlora, one day the wolf strain, one day Phytosphlora, one day the wolf strain. And I would imagine, well, in about 3 months, that you'll start seeing a difference in his fecal material. If you redo his fecal, you should see a difference by then, because it's not like dumping in antibiotics to get rid of something, right? They have to mingle, they have to procreate in the gut, they have to educate themselves, and then they have to start, when that particular bacteria is in there. It doesn't, like, I don't know maybe what the count was before compared to now. If the count's going down, it's a good sign. It's not just gonna, not eradicate it, but suppress all of it at one time. You don't want it to be suppressed so completely. So I hope that makes sense.
Totally, Julie. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, Fran, sweet boy just came back from having mitral valve repair surgery. He's on Plavix, aspirin, Vetmedin, and
Diazepam. No,
yeah,
I can't read
perhaps
glasses.
that.
Okay.
It sounds like that. He's done great on liver tonic. I used it prior to surgery, but read that barberry can interfere with Plavix. Just wondering your thoughts, and if I should wait 3 months until he's off the blood thinners. He's currently on Phytosynergy, Healthy Gut, and Turkey Tail. Thank you.
There is such a small amount in it, right? There's a really small amount in it. But if you feel more comfortable doing that, then yeah, I would just wait the 3 months. And as soon as he's off the blood thinners, then put him back on. But there, like I said, there's such a small amount. Rita Hogan, I don't know if we have it down there in our thing, but Rita Hogan wrote a thing about our the way we produce liver tonic and the berberis in it, and how the way we produce it reduces the alkaloid, which is what the concern is. So, but just to be safe, I would say wait, and then after 3 months, definitely put them back on it for sure. If you want to get just something with just milk thistle in it for that 3 months, you can do that and just put them on just on milk thistle, or just on dandelion root or dandelion leaf. Don't, and just don't add the berberis, but definitely the berberis should come in somewhere, especially when we're talking about Vetmedin and some of the other drugs, because we want to make sure that the kidneys stay healthy. And that's what the berberis really is helpful for, is that triad thing, right? So the kidneys, the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder. So all of those guys work together as a team, and liver tonic is formulated to support that entire team, so that, we're not just supporting the liver, and then the pancreas and the gallbladder and the kidneys are like working their butts off trying to detoxify the dog as well. The other thing I would say is, Phytosynergy is really good. And Healthy Gut is good too, but I would be putting something in there, maybe like I don't know, like Gut Soothe or Phytosynergy or the Wolf strain, I would probably be putting with heart stuff, I would probably be putting Phytosflora in it or the Wolf strain. And the reason why is because the heart is such an incredible thing as far as how it cleans the blood, right? So when you're using Phytosflora, let's just use Phytosflora, it's got fulvic and humic acid in it. And fulvic and humic acid is a really great mineral that helps to detoxify the body of heavy metals and just almost works like a chelation therapy. So it wouldn't, like for the 3 months that he's not on liver tonic, it wouldn't hurt to put him on Phytosflora, because all of those drugs and even just the stress on the body of having a heart issue is going to affect the integrity of the gut for sure. And then you just don't want to be like, oh, I'm not paying attention to the gut, I'm only paying attention to his heart. It'd be really great if you could pay attention to both to be sure that there's no after effects.
Thank you, Julie. Freya's got a question here. Our vet told us one of my dogs might have tracheal stenosis.
Yeah.
It's a Schnauzer, 9-year-old, neutered, male, raw fed, walks well, exercises okay. Just started snoring sometimes when he's laying down, but not always. He's prescribed loratadine for a week to see if it helps. We haven't started because I want to check first if I can do something to help reduce the inflammation besides Gut Soothe. He's currently taking the Wolf. I've also added chaga, turkey tail, liver tonic, omega-3, and healthy gut. We're in Mexico and so thankful for your products. They are amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. So yes, there's one more thing that you can do for that, and that's homeopathic medicine. So I would honestly say I would just go, everything that you're using is really good, like really, really good. Everything that you, especially Gut Soothe, because of the ability to help with inflammation in the smooth muscles of anything, like N-acetylglucosamine deals with smooth muscle of the bladder, the trachea, the mucosal lining of the nasal mucosal lining, there's lung linings, all of that stuff. So Gut Soothe is a really good choice. Putting the Wolf in is an incredible choice because then you're getting that specific species probiotic. Omegas are always good. Healthy gut is also good. What I would say in there is Jump for Joints. Now everybody's going to be like, what? That sounds ridiculous. And that's because Jump for Joints supports ligaments, tendons, muscles, and cartilage. So when you look at how the trachea and is what it's surrounded by, what it's actually made from, using something like Jump for Joints is a really incredible support mechanism to support anything like that, muscles, tendons, cartilage, so that you're actually really specifically targeting the physiology and the makeup of the trachea.
This is a little known fact actually that Julie shared with me while we were making a presentation one day. It's that our Jump for Joints is unlike anything on the market because you're mostly going to see supplements that target, for example, hip and joint. You're not going to see something that offers the 4-way mobility support that Jump does. Check your supplements at home if you're doing something for arthritis or joint care and see if you're targeting more than one area.
Yeah, because I always say it's like a scaffold. So when you have a joint in your joints like this, and you're having a product that's supporting the joint, like like the fluid in the joint, things like that, we're not looking at everything else, especially with older dogs or dogs that have had cruciate surgeries and things like that. We're not looking at everything else that's holding this joint up, right? Giving support to the joint. So that is cartilage, muscle, tendon. It's not just the bone and the bone, right? We're really looking at supporting it like a scaffold of, if a person is standing on a scaffold, you're not going to just stand on the wood thing. You need all those other things in place to hold it up.
Thanks, Julie. Helen, you've talked about this before. Can you talk about the ketamine PTSD in cats after anesthesia? And if there's any way to overcome this, thank you.
So there are research papers out there. Don Hamilton, he's an amazing homeopathic vet in Taos, New Mexico. Him and I were really digging into this, and you can actually get research on that, but the concept of that is that, it's a very controversial subject, but the nature of ketamine is not a pain relief and it's not an anesthetic. It is given in order for the body not to be able to move, basically. So ketamine is oh my gosh, what's it called? Special K. So it's the date rape drug. And when you talk to people that have been, exposed to that, the horror of being exposed to that, they can't move, but they can feel everything. So that is the concern with ketamine, is that if it's not used incredibly carefully, that the animal can't move or the person can't move, and it's used sort of like a pre-anesthetic or a combination of a pre-anesthetic, but they can still feel the pain, or they can still have some idea of what's going on, along with the type of drug that it is. So the type of drug that it is, they can get psychosis from it, right? So animals that are susceptible to psychosis, for whatever reason, whether it's breed, their predisposition from before, I think that cats are more predisposed to it, can get some pretty severe long-term issues with it. And at my clinic, we were like this was like a long time ago, we did a thing of when animals woke up, what were they actually, I don't know if anyone's ever worked in a clinic, but a lot of times they wake up and there's just screaming, right? They're screaming and they're, disoriented, and that is usually exponentially worse when they've been given ketamine. So there is lots of different papers on it, and you can go in and read in research papers. But the way because I had a lot of animals, people bringing animals into me that with aggression, or cats that had, inappropriate spraying, inappropriate urination post surgery, and whether that was like even a dental surgery, or whether that was a spay or neuter, or whether that was sometimes certain cats have to be, as crazy as it sounds, people have to, I would never do this, I don't think, but they have to anesthetize them to take out their mats, like shave them and stuff with big
I've heard of that.
cats. Yeah. Oh, what happened? That's weird. It's so weird. I don't know why that happened. Sorry. And I've had animals come in, dogs aggressive after they've had surgery. And when I really dig in and get all of their records, I would say a big part of that time they were given ketamine as a pre-med. So there is a homeopathic remedy called ketamine, and it's made from ketamine. So we use that a lot in our clinic to try and reduce the side effects. I know this is a really long one, but it's very interesting. We had a cat that was that came in. It was only, I think, a year old, and it had been given ketamine to be neutered. And after that, it started eating indigestible things, but really a lot. Like had 2 or 3 surgeries from eating like full, like ingesting a bra, like a whole bra. And I remember one time we did surgery on it and they opened him up and he had like a whole Barbie doll arm in his gut. Like he just voraciously ate indigestible things. It was horrible. And I know that there's lots of cats that they do that. Like they're like it. And if you look back, you know, is it from the spay and neuter just in general, or is it from ketamine? I don't know. But we gave this cat had to live in a cage
Oh my
unless
God.
there was someone home, right? Because it just would get it. It would chew the rugs. It would chew the ends of the couches and things like that. Anyways, we treated that cat with ketamine, homeopathic ketamine, for I think 3 months, quite a long time. And some behavioral modifications just of letting him out and doing different things. And it's completely stopped. And I honestly don't think that, well, first of all, was not very good quality of life leaving a cat in a
No.
big kennel. But also I think he probably eventually would have died. Like, how many surgeries can you do? So yes, I have heard of it. That's how we deal with it. And we would just always use propofol in place of ketamine. We used a drug called propofol.
Thank you, Julie. Sandra, I have 2 Bouviers. Maple is a 2.5-year-old female. Stanley's a 20-month-old male. They both eat Maple's poop and only her poop. I'm giving Maple Phytos Flora, but I'm not sure if there's something else I can give her to help stop this habit. They also get liver tonic, potency, omega-3, and phytosynergy. I think we have a blog on this.
Okay, so yeah, I do. I don't know if I have a blog, but I just did a coprophagia. I just did a thing for a vet platform. I can't remember who it was.
Like a
Mary.
speaking engagement?
I did a speaking thing on coprophagia. Yeah. Oh yeah, we do have a blog, but anyways, so now, so they're eating. So there's Maple and Stanley, and they both, okay, so Maple eats her own poop and so does Stanley. So what I would do is and you're giving Maple Phytos Flora, but I'm not sure if there's something else I can give her to help stop eat. Okay. I would give her, I don't know what kind of food they're on. That's the other thing. I would give her healthy gut, because enzymes are a big deal in coprophagia. And also, yeah, read the blog, because the how to deal with it as well, like not yelling at them. You know, where were they born? Were they crate trained? There's lots of different aspects of coprophagia, so you can read the blog for sure. But I would definitely try them. I would definitely try them on healthy gut, because maybe Maple doesn't have the particular digestive enzymes to pull all the nutrient value out of her food. So she is smelling her food and still realizing that there is nutrients left in her food, and Stanley is doing the same thing. So that's what I would try first. I would keep them on. I would probably rotate Phytos Flora and Wolf. So when you're finished Phytos Flora, go on to the Wolf strain, but in the same time, start them on healthy gut, which is the digestive enzyme, and let us know, like customer service know what happens.
Thank you. Rochelle, how long can it take to transition a dog to being treated holistically? Or how long would it take for a dog's immune system to get back on track after months/years of being on medication? And at the same time, is there a way to bring down chronic stress, inflammation without anti-inflammatories or steroids? I decided to stop giving my dog Apoquel, antibiotics, and anti-inflammatory medications, and switched him to a raw diet. At the same time, I got him into and completed the liver tonic and rebalancer, as well as Wolf. Good question.
Yeah. So that's awesome, but I would just be very careful. I don't know whether you stopped them all at the same time or you reduce them, because what will often happen in something like this is you could quite possibly get something called a rebound effect. So what a rebound effect is, I mean, I don't like animals on drugs either, but my general rule at my clinic, what we did is when an animal would come in on a whole bunch of drugs, we would start treating them with, we would go the whole holistic route, obviously, raw food diet, homeopathy, dealing with the gut, trying to reduce any chronic stress in the house, lots more walks, really, really bring up their health on every level, emotionally, stress related, diet, and gut health, and everything. We would do that. And then we would slowly bring the drugs down, probably slower than your conventional vet would, so that we could see when the rebound reaction would happen. And then we could maintain the drugs at that level, give it a little bit of time for the rebound to like slow down, then start reducing the drugs again. So we did it very, very methodically, like really, really methodically. And I think that that's half the reason that people have to go back on to conventional drugs, is because, so this is what happens. You guys have all heard me talk about the pipe bursts and there's water coming out of a pipe, a leaky pipe. And then you take duct tape and you wrap the duct tape around the hole, and the hole looks like it's gone, right? Like the leak stops and everybody is like, okay, cool, it's fixed. And it's not fixed. What's happening is that the hole underneath is actually getting bigger while the tape is on top of it. Then the tape gets wet, falls off, or you take the tape off and there's a 10 times bigger hole and it gushes out way worse than it did before. That's one way of looking at rebound. The next way of looking at rebound is any suppressive drugs like Apoquel or steroids. What happens is here's the body, here's the immune system. So those are immune suppressive drugs. So the immune system is too high, and that's what happens with autoimmune diseases, and that's why they use immune suppressive drugs. So the immune system is like ramped, like too high. It's way, way high. It's going like this. So then they take the drugs and it pushes the immune system down. So it flattens the immune system, it suppresses the immune system, and it's holding the immune system like this while they're on the drugs. So it's going stay down, stay lower, lower immune system. And then the drugs come off. And if the drug comes off like that, the whole, this effect goes like that. It just like do that to your hand. Like if you push on your hand and then take your other hand off, your hand will flap forward naturally. So that's called a rebound effect. It's like an elastic band. So when that rebound effect happens, everybody freaks out. Oh my gosh, my animal can't be off of drugs. Oh my gosh, look at, he's 10 times, million times worse because I took him off the drugs. Not necessarily. He's not necessarily worse. If he is worse, it's worse because it got worse while it was being suppressed, because the underlying disease wasn't being taken care of. So when you reduce these things very slowly and you can work with your veterinarian, you're going to be saying, okay, whoa, slow down. I don't want to go to every other day yet. I just want to go to this, or I just want to go to that. And then the body gets a chance to catch up to the rebound, right? So it's like, okay, I'm taking a little bit here, my animals here. I'm going to start bringing up all my holistic interventions and support. And now I'm going to start bringing the drugs down, right? And it's like, oh, we're getting to here and we're starting to see itchy, shaking heads, whatever. It's like, okay, let's just put it back up just a tad and let's stay there for a little while. Then when we don't see any symptoms again, we start bringing it down. And then you just keep doing that until it's a long process, and a lot of vets don't like doing it, but we found amazing success doing that at our practice because we took the time and understood what's worse. Taking them off of it, putting them on, taking them off of it, putting them back on it, taking them off of it, putting them back on it. Like that is actually worse for their body then slowly doing it. And I'm going to full transparency here, guys. We had dogs that were, and cats that were so bad, like so bad that they were never ever able to be taken off of the drugs. And then sometimes the drugs wouldn't even work anymore. So then they'd have to go on stronger drugs and higher doses. And, you know, then their livers started getting affected and their joints started getting affected. There were some dogs that were so sick or had such deep seated chronic disease that we had to keep them on very low doses of prednisone for their entire life. And what was so amazing about it is that we literally microdosed some drugs. And we would have, this was a long time ago, and, you know, vets are doing it now, but back then when we were doing it, people just thought we were insane. And we would have people go, that's ridiculous. There is no therapeutic value left in the amount of steroid that you're giving that dog. But we knew, because of the way we did it, that if that dog had this incy-bincy little bit of steroid, it would stay balanced. And it didn't. We would keep taking its blood work, and it wasn't affecting its liver, and its liver was nice and happy and healthy. And they lived like that for the duration of their life. And it didn't give them a less life expectancy or it was actually amazing. And so that's why it's really good to do that, because you'll find that sweet spot, and then you stay at that sweet spot for a while, and then you go down. And when people used to say to us, that's impossible, it's not working, you know, it's proven that it can't work therapeutically at less of a dose than X, Y, and Z, maybe, but not when you're having everything else supported, not when you're supporting gut health, not like you're dealing with a different world when you're working with an animal, treating an animal, giving an animal all the tools that it needs, our body, all the tools that it needs to have to heal, and then still giving this like microdose of a drug. We even did that with, you know, thyroid medication and all different kinds of things. It's quite, but you have to have a really open-minded vet, and you have to take the time, and you just have to mark lots of things down, and, you know, reactions and stuff like that. So that has always been my go-to of how we did it at our clinic.
Thank you, Julie. Linda has a 4-year-old golden lab cross, has come a long way in restoring her gut health. She's much improved with a good diet. The last piece seems to be chronic itchy skin, not seasonal. Can you suggest trying something from one of your supplements? She's taking Gut Soothe at the moment.
Yeah. You know, to me, I like just really giving the gut a diversity of things, right? So as many different species as you can get into them. So I would be rotating. I would go from Gut Soothe. Once you finish Gut Soothe, I would go on Phytophthora. Once you finish Phytophthora, I would go on the Wolf. Then once I went off the Wolf, I would go on Soil and Sea. So I would rotate them, definitely rotate them. And the other thing to look for is what's on your couches. Is it synthetic? Is she reacting to anything that is in your, you know, like that she's sleeping on or anything like that? That's one thing. What are you bathing her with? Are you bathing her? Are you actually reducing the microbiome on the skin by every single time you bath her? Then she's susceptible to all the environmental allergies, because, you know, bathing a dog all the time is like it's almost like giving the gut antibiotics, right? So when you're washing your dog, you're removing a lot of that healthy skin microbiome. So pay attention to how much what are you using, first of all, as a shampoo? Are you shampooing them? So you could, if, you could also try the mask, where we actually put probiotics in some yogurt, stick them in a bathtub, massage the probiotics and leave it on in the bathtub and then rinse it off. Don't wash it off with soap or water. But the other thing that I would be thinking about is phytosynergy, because you want to make sure that it's coming from within out, right? So I saw someone put in the chat something about a golden retriever, maybe that it's something else. It just comes so fast that I didn't see it. But before I would get too hung up on, like, it's always good to know everything and what exactly is going on with your dog. But a lot of times, if a dog doesn't have a healthy gut, then you can be giving it amazing food and it just slips right through. So phytosynergy has a lot of really, really, really intense antioxidants, superoxide dismutase being one of them. And the nice thing about that is that it doesn't need to go into the gut to be utilized. So it doesn't have to be digested. So it doesn't matter how bad your dog or your cat's gut is, or your gut is, doesn't matter. Phytosynergy has the ability to be bioavailable. So I would probably add some phytosynergy to that, and try not to bathe them, and try doing the topical one if it's just the itch that's left. And obviously I don't have to ask you, have you checked for fleas? Because even if you don't see any fleas, if you have a dog that has a flea allergy dermatitis or that is sensitive to fleas, you only have to have one flea in your whole house. Or you just have to go for a walk and one flea jumps on them, bites them, jumps back off of them. They have a reaction, like a chronic inflammatory reaction to the flea saliva. So you may have no fleas in your house, but if it's flea season, wherever you are, all that needs to happen is your dog just needs to be bitten by one flea, and it can be insanely itchy.
Right. Okay, thank you, Julie. Barbara, I had my 7-year-old dog on Doxy Monday. Yes, urgent situation with anaphylaxis, no choice.
Yeah.
I'm giving him a
doxycycline is an antibiotic for
okay.
whoever's, and that is a Lyme. That's a tick-borne virus that she's doing it for.
Good to know. Thank you. I'm giving him a prebiotic, but which ABA product will be best to save and fix his microbiome? Do I start it ASAP, or do I start it after the round of antibiotics? That's a good question too.
So Barbara, I have done lots of work with Lyme, like tons and tons of work with Lyme, and it was urgent. It's fun. Don't even remotely beat yourself up. Doxy is an intense antibiotic, so you really want to be like hardcore hitting his gut for sure. Saying that, I'm not 100%, if it was in a situation where he needed it, then it's fine. So let's deal with it now, but not let's just deal with the Doxy. Let's deal with the residue effect of that virus, right? That with Lyme, I'm just going to use the word Lyme so that everybody understands it, because those little buggers are nasty pieces of work, and they can sit dormant and look like they aren't there anymore. And when your dog gets stressed or a person gets stressed, they rear their ugly heads. So my favorite thing for Lyme actually is phytosynergy. I think it is unbelievable because it's a cell to cell, right? It's a cell to cell antioxidant. So it has the ability to sneak into cells differently than other things do. So phytosynergy and keeping your dog's immune system as strong as you possibly can keep it, which is then leading to its microbiome. So I would say for this right now, I would put them on Phytosflora. And then after Phytosflora, I would do Wolf, and I'll tell you why. Because there are wolves are getting bitten by ticks left, right, and center. and they're not susceptible, and wild animals aren't as susceptible to getting stuff as we are, or domesticated people, animals, whatever. So I would go into the wolf one, because that is that's something that has that fingerprint of that resilience from the wild. And stress. So stress is a big one. I would have a full protocol for your dog to how to keep him stress free. Because when I think that Lyme, the way it presents, stress is one of the big contributing factors for it to come again, right? For it to, sort of, like I said, raise its ugly head again. So I would try very hard to, find ways to keep your dogs really happy, keep his physical activity up. If it's really hot where you live, make sure that his house is cool in the summertime. A lot of people don't understand the amount of stress and cortisol, how the cortisol spikes when dogs get too hot. Like, we might not think it's hot, but it could be very hot for your dog, especially if it's being left alone at home. Make sure that there's lots of circulating fans or an air conditioner. That's a big one. And just keeping his immune system up with phytosynergy and the rotation, I would say, of Phytosphlora and Soil and Sea would be good too. So Phytosphlora, wolf, and Soil and Sea, like rotating those three would be really good. And one last thing is liver tonic. You want to make sure that liver's clean in order to be the blood to be able to process and cleaned all the time.
Thank you very much. We got time for a few more here. Elisa, questions about leaky gut protocol for cats. I'm a huge fan. However, I've done the protocol with a cat. Turns out the cat is reacting to shellfish and beef. I'm not sure what other options I have to try and work through, and products I could use to help heal his GI.
Yeah.
I'm seeing through that Gut Soothe in Felix's Flora is causing him some trouble.
So Felix's Flora do we have beef in Felix's Flora? I just had brain.
I think there's the glandular for
Is it
palatability.
glandular in Felix's Flora? So I'm going to tell you something to try, and don't get all sketched out or scared. Try putting him on Phytosphlora. Try adding Phytosphlora to his food. It doesn't have any beef glandular in it, and it's got the fulvic and humic acid, which really, really affects the tight junctions of the gut. So I would try that for sure. And that would be the number one thing I would try for his gut. Other than, I'm not sure if your kitty would eat fermented goat's milk. So if you could get her to drink, or he to drink fermented goat raw, make sure it's raw. So fermented raw goat's milk, because then you're getting prebiotics in that way that are raw and have a different diversity of things. The other thing you can try is Soil and Sea, because Soil and Sea is got chlorella in it, so it's very fishy. Oh, what is it she's saying? But it's not fish, so it shouldn't. She's saying that she's thinking it's the shellfish. So, but you know what? Can you put get her email? Because I want to actually email her something, because I have another idea. It's just going to take too long on this to talk to her about it. But
Eliza, drop your email if you don't mind in the Q&A, and we'll
and
reach out to you.
I'm gonna give you a little bit more information. In the meantime, you can definitely do Phytosphlora. Doesn't matter whether it's a dog. It's like all the other probiotics on the market are made from cow and all these other different things. So taking Phytosphlora, cats can take Phytosphlora without an issue at all if they don't mind the taste of it. And it's just that there is no flavor in it, right? Not flavor, there's no beef in it. But Soil and Sea does taste fishy, but there's no fish in it. because of the chlorella. So I would definitely try that, and try some fermented, some really good fermented goat milk, and see if your cat likes that. Just start with a very small amount, like a teaspoon, see if they like it, and then you can go up to like a tablespoon.
Perfect. Okie dokie.
Did you get her
Um,
name? Did she text her? Did she put
yeah.
her? Okay, good.
I got it. Okay, Marianne. I bought Felix's Flora, Feline Gut Soothe, and Healthy Gut for my 17-year-old cat
Uh,
for his IBD and now pancreatitis. He's also hyperthyroid and has chronic kidney disease.
Yeah.
The problem is that he's also anorexic and he's too nauseous to eat the food with them sprinkled on top. Do you have any suggestions on how to get it into her boy?
Okay, so I would either reach out to Andrea Ring and start getting this cat ASAP on homeopathic remedies, because the first thing I think is giving him, homeopathic phosphorus, which is going to help his inflammatory bowel disease and help his pancreas and help his kidneys. So that would be something that I would do homeopathically, that has no taste, zero taste, and would support all of that stuff. If he's not keen on that, stress is a big deal, right? Stress is a really, really big deal. So first thing I'm thinking is that he should be on liver tonic, because it helps to deal with the pancreas. It helps to deal with the kidneys, the liver, the gallbladder. That it would be really, really, really helpful for him to go on that. What you can do, and it's not, it's not fun. It depends on how stressed out it would cause, how much stress it would cause him. Again, if your cat would be okay with goat milk, or either goat milk or fermented goat milk, raw goat milk, you can take a little bit of goat milk and you can take some Gut Soothe, and maybe don't do Healthy Gut right now. Just do, because Healthy Gut's quite strong smelling, whereas Felix Flora and Feline Gut Soothe has the beef the grass-fed beef glandular in it, and cats seem to really like the taste of it. I would take that and some Phytosynergy, and I would mix a quarter of the dose of all of them and into some either water or raw goat milk, if he likes it or tolerates it, or raw fermented goat milk. Mix a tiny little bit and syringe it into his mouth once a day. Just put, a few, literally take a syringe, take like two, I'm just looking for syringes. I usually have syringes everywhere in my house. Take like 2 cc's of water, or 2 cc's of the raw goat milk, put it onto the powders, really, 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 really mix it, suck it up in a syringe and just squirt it into the side of his mouth, and see how he reacts to that, right? Because I wouldn't do that with Healthy Gut, because Healthy Gut is very strong. It's a really potent thing. If you put Phytosynergy in it, it's so stinky like fish. It smells so fishy that it'll cut the taste out of everything, but you'd have to see whether he likes it. But I really think the phosphorus will help him with his anorexia. Like, I can't guarantee it, but it'll help for the nausea. It'll help for the anorexia. It's just a phenomenal old cat remedy. It's like my favorite go-to old kitty remedy. It really makes them feel good. And arnica. So arnica, because sometimes IBD and kidney issues and just feeling old and crotchety and gross in general can make them not want to eat. So they just feel they hurt, whatever. Mixing arnica and phosphorus together, even if you get a 30C arnica and a 30C phosphorus, it will help with pain, it'll help with inflammation, and it will really help. I would hope it would really help everything else too.
Thank you, Julie. Are we at time? You ladies tell me what you're doing with the unanswered questions here, because I mean, we just absolutely crushed his power hour. Tell me what you're
Yeah.
doing.
I don't know, Julie, can we wrap up for today and then
Well,
do you
we can answer a couple more. I mean, often we go till like quarter after, right? It's rare that we stop right at 9.
Let's make it happen.
Okay.
Okay, Beverly. Hello all, I've got a question for my 7-year-old 60-pound dog. He's got a partial tear in his hind ACL. I've been using every remedy imaginable, including Jump for Joints, Phytosynergy, Adored Beast digestive health products, other homeopathics, therapeutics like laser, water therapy, physiotherapy, injections, and so on.
Yeah.
He's got a custom brace, and on Monday we did some recall work in the backyard, and now he's limping again. He's not putting much weight on it. Last week, a holistic vet said that his knee overall felt great. What am I missing?
How often, I don't know, can she type it in? How often are you giving the Jump for Joints?
Uh,
Can
chat,
she?
even to go in the chat and we'll see it. Beverly, yeah, you're still here.
Is she still here?
Yeah, that how often? 4 times a day.
4 times a day? Okay. I don't know. I would probably look at higher potencies of things like 10M arnicas. You'd have to go to a homeopath to get the stuff, but 10M arnicas, 10M rutas, and maybe, yeah, 10M arnica, 10M ruta. And the other thing is collagen, right? You could start giving him collagen. I would be thinking, and hopefully you've got him on a really strong omega-3, right? So high EPA, high DHA omega-3, that's really, really important. But I would be looking at adding extra collagen to his food. That would be something that, you know, to really, really help, really help to repair the joint. And like, you're doing a lot. You're really, really doing a lot. Soon as he tweaks it, well, then you know what, I don't know what other homeopathics that you're using. Sometimes if he's limping after he goes out and does some recall stuff, Rustox, right? Rustox is a really good homeopathic remedy that's worse after exercise, but then starts to limp, but then sort of moves out of it, right? Sort of worse after exercise, but better after exercise too, if that makes sense. But I would go higher doses of arnica and ruta and collagen. I would try to get some really good collagen and put him on collagen.
Would our bone broth recipe be helpful?
Yep.
Cool. All right, Bev, thank you.
That's a good point, Steph.
Jody, 7-year-old GSD, has a very dry nose, cracked and bleeds heavily on occasion. The vet tech said it may be an immune disorder. I wasn't at a full appointment, so I couldn't ask questions. Interesting. I've never heard of that. They told me to apply vitamin E. What immune disorder may it be? A little background. She was diagnosed with puppy strangles when she was a pup. Not sure if this would be something that could affect her now.
So hyperkeratosis is one thing that she might have, which is where the body produces too much keratin. That could be one thing. Lupus can cause this. A disease called lupus can cause this. There's a few things that can cause it. But I would be definitely doing, like I said, I don't know whether you're doing stuff for his gut, but definitely like getting the gut working as tip-top shape as you possibly can. Omega-3s, internal omega-3s, like our potency is really good because of the DHA part of it. So omega-3s, making sure that he's getting healthy fats in his diet. And hyperkeratosis, believe it or not, you could look at doing rebalancer with your dog. So doing rebalancer maybe twice a day for 2 weeks, because there's a homeopathic remedy in it called Thuya. and Thuya is really good for hyperkeratosis. So the overgrowths of things, warts, herpes viruses, all kinds of things like that, where you get a too much growth of something. And that's what I would be doing. So phytosynergy for me, it would be a phytosynergy, the wolf, phytosflora, and definitely liver tonic and the rebalancer.
Beautiful, Julie. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the blog here. Okay, Jen. Hi, Julie. We have a pet customer that has lupus. Funny, you just mentioned that, Julie. The human wanted to wean off and eventually get off of Apoquel. They feed raw, add a lot of supporting supplements. I recommend that she start on the leaky gut protocol within the first 4 to 5 days. She had a pretty bad flare-up, paws swollen, difficult to walk, and she got especially crusty. Do you think she was detoxing? From what I've learned, I'd expect this with the yeasty beast protocol, but not with the leaky gut. In your opinion, should we continue?
Well, their human wanted to wean off and eventually got off Apoquel. So how fast? This is a prime example of what I talked about before, about taking them off of drugs. So sometimes it takes months and months and months and months to wean them off of drugs. So not just your typical, 10 days to 2 weeks, but sometimes 3 and 4 months to actually get them off of, especially with something like lupus. So lupus is definitely an autoimmune disease, and you want to be very careful. So when leaky gut can actually stimulate the immune system, right? So if the gut all of a sudden ramps up and builds a really, really strong immune system, it's not going to make it too high, but it could cause a stronger rebound effect if you've taken them off of Apoquel, or they've gone off Apoquel too fast. So that's exactly what I was talking about. Taking them off Apoquel too fast and building their immune system at the same time, not too quickly, but quickly, or hardcore building their immune system. That rebound might be like, get the, out of my body, right? So it's not a detox. It's an actual rebound. People think it's a detox. You can kind of call it a detox. It really isn't a true detox. It's definitely more of a rebound effect. So in this case, I know, people are being like, oh my God. So maybe instead of Apoquel, maybe she could go to her vet and talk to her vet about what other immune suppressive drugs could she use that would be easier to leave them on low doses, right? Low doses for longer periods of time. And then I would get things in like turkey tail, which is an immune modulator. I would look at immune modulation, not immune stimulation. So turkey tail, the wolf phytosflora, they all have very, very, very strong immune modulation capacities, which means that if the immune system goes too high, it helps to bring it down. If it goes too low, it helps to bring it up. So that's what I would do, is I would probably not let her suffer, definitely not let her suffer. And with lupus, when you know that you have an actual diagnosis of something like lupus, I wouldn't be fooling around with taking her off and on drugs. That would be a dog that I would be definitely looking at what this dog's quality of life is. And maybe this is the prime example of a dog that needs to stay on very low doses of steroids, right? Or like immune suppressive drugs. Last but not least, if that was my dog, I would recommend Andrea Ring and put this dog on a constitutional remedy, and she can help you, be on certain remedies when the dog is constantly on like Nux Vomica, low dose Nux Vomica for the rest of its life, while it's always taking a drug. So it's not the end of the world if something has to stay on very low doses of something and you're and you're supporting the side effects of that drug, which you can really well, you just don't want to be you like that. I can't even imagine swollen, difficulty to walk, like
Mhm.
that's going to increase that dog's cortisol levels, which is going to make all the other things worse. So I would be going back to the vets, putting that dog back on something else, and then weaning him off of it really ridiculously slow, and maybe definitely talking to Andrea if you can.
Thank you. For everyone listening later, www.andrearing.ca. Okay, one more. Jen.
Okay.
This one's got a lot of big words for me.
Okay. Hi,
Hi,
my
Julie.
dog was just diagnosed with immune-mediated hemolytic anemia and is now on immune suppressant medication. What supplement and or probiotics would you recommend I give him better to support him through this? That's a really, 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 really dangerous disease, and dogs can die from that. So you don't want to fool around with that. But I've worked with that. I can't even tell you how many times. And I know I'm talking too much and Andrea's going to kill me. But Andrea had a dog. Her heart dog had immune mediated hemolytic anemia. So she's very familiar with it and is very, very proficient in working with it. So working with it, giving you like a dog that has immune mediated hemolytic anemia, you're going to want to treat that dog constitutionally, which means either you keep him on some immune suppressive drugs for the rest of his life, which will then eventually not work and will affect other organs in his body, or you have him on exactly what we said. You have him on the immune suppressive drugs. You give him homeopathic remedies, is because it has no contraindication with any drugs, nothing, zero. So you can have homeopathic remedies with any single solitary drugs that your animals are on, and you don't have to worry like any kind of, supplements or herbs or anything like that. Homeopathy is brilliant for that. And she could put your dog on a constitutional remedy that helps to figure out or rebalance or bring the animal's homeostasis back into alignment, so it's not as predisposed to autoimmune hemolytic anemia. My experience with that is it's a very stress induced disease. It's a disease that is triggered often by high stress levels. So, trying to mitigate that as much as possible, keep a diary of what happened in the last 2 months before this episode happened, and looking at what triggers it, what doesn't trigger it, including you and your stress levels, or going to certain daycares or anything like that. And then she will also give you a list of homeopathic remedies to have as a first aid thing that you have in your backpack, you have them in your car console, you have them in your house in your first aid kit, whatever, so that if your dog starts showing signs of it, you can start giving the remedies right away. And we have seen that it helps then to derail the episode, so the episodes aren't as dangerous. You still take them to the vets, but the episodes aren't as dangerous. They don't have to be hospitalized and things like that, because it is a very dangerous disease.
Thanks, Julie.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, I think I'm wrapping up. And I know that we still have a lot of questions here to be answered. So I would ask you guys to join our community on Facebook, the Adore Bees Collective. And we would be glad to help you there. I would like to thank everyone that joined us today, and also thank you, Steph, for helping me, and of course you, Julie, for the amazing discussion. I'm glad that I saw like a lot of questions about cats, and I want to tell you guys a little spoiler for the next Ask Julie Anything, that we're gonna talk, addressing more questions about cats. So please join us. It will be in July. And I wish you all a great night. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. You can sign up in our website to get all information about Adorbees, our promos, new blog postings, and future Ask Julie Anything sessions. Thank you, everyone. I don't know if you want to say a few last words today, Julie.
No, other than thanks everybody for being here, and stay safe and be careful that you don't have fires, and just be really, like, we're sort of in the center of this right now, and yeah, just keep an eye open for people with fires, or people with cigarettes, or on trails or whatever. Like, we need everybody's eyeballs on stuff like this, because for me, I love my dogs and cats and my horses and everything, but my heart just breaks for the amount of wildlife that are dying in this, and it's really, really heartbreaking. So if we can all, over the summer, keep our eyes open for anything that might even trigger something like that, it would be very helpful and really appreciated by Mother Earth and all of its inhabitants. Okay,
Everyone, be
see
safe.
you later. Thank you.